You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.
That really is
you
what
can make this possible.
the social media app NextDoor is all about. It is app. Actually, I've gotten on it. Is really interesting. Being able to actually communicate. How many of us even know who our neighbors are? When we talk about not just political stuff, but how do we also change neighborhoods? Y'all heard me tell the story of my parents, Reginald and Melda Martin. They were co-founders of our civic club growing up. It was about how do we fix our community? How do we redefine our neighborhoods? And in many ways, that's what NextDoor is all about. The co-founder of NextDoor joins us right now is Prakash Janakirman. I hope I said that correct. Is the co-founder and chief architect of NextDoor. Did I get it right?
You did. Prakash Janakirman, almost like my mom says it.
Prakash Janakirman. Got it. All right, then. Well, Kenya sent me the phonetic spelling. We had it straight. And look, I know we were talking earlier about politics and public policy and social movements, but the reality is when we talk about getting people to vote, going door to door, block by block, precinct, things along those lines. That was always the case when you knew who your neighbor was. Before, I mean, in many ways, we're disconnected. That, to me, I find to be very interesting with NextDoor. It helps in so many of these different ways. So whether you want to talk about how do you, as a community, deal with crime, how do you deal with education, how do you deal with playgrounds, to basically, hey, I'm looking for, I'm looking for a place to get my shoes repaired. That's really, I find it interesting how this community works.
Yeah, you know, when we founded NextDoor almost 10 years ago, one of the key insights was that most people don't actually know their neighbors. There was a Pew Research study that came out when we started the company, almost serendipitously as we were trying to find an idea, that said that 29% of Americans claim to know only a few of their neighbors, which really implies 1 to 2 of them. And 28% of neighbors responded saying that they didn't know a single neighbor by name. So that in and of itself was quite alarming. But when you compare that to the research that shows that social capital is instrumental in building strong communities, communities that have more social capital, neighbors that know one another across the board get better in those communities with higher social capital. So crime rates drop, property values increase, education and test scores improve, and people, in fact, live longer in communities where they have the support of their neighbors. So we built NextDoor from the ground up to be about the neighborhood, about building that social capital. And our app is a way for you to plug into all of the neighborhoods that matter to you. And every day, millions of people come to NextDoor to get recommendations for babysitters or plumbers or auto mechanics, or exchanging goods and services with their neighbors, like trying to get rid of a used couch or a used bike, or even just tapping into what's going on in the community from an event standpoint. And I know you're there in Houston today. And especially during natural disasters, floods, fires, and hurricanes like Hurricane Harvey that hit Houston really hard, we found ourselves almost an extension of the public infrastructure. When 911 gets a busy signal, people can back off to NextDoor, sending an urgent alert to get the help from their neighbors that they need. So NextDoor can be everything from a day-to-day utility all the way to a lifeline in these critical situations.
How many people are now using it?
We're in 11 countries, 275,000 neighborhoods around the world. We have tens of millions of members who use our product every day.
So let's again. I use the example. My parents. There were a lot of people who said, "Oh man, y'all can't start this civic club." Are you seeing that? How people who care about the communities, they want to see things change, how they're using it for social good, to change their neighborhoods, change the direction, things along those lines. Are you seeing people using it in different ways, not just, hey, I'm looking for a farmer's market, but really using it for social change in their communities?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the really unique things about NextDoor is that it's about proximity and not preference. So when you look at other networks, you have to go build a following, friend by friend or follower by follower, in order to get utility out of those networks. Whereas when you come to NextDoor, everybody that signs up for NextDoor is a real human being verified to a real address. And so your residency in the community provides you entree into the network. And so when you join, you will find that all of your neighbors are there. So it's a great platform for local organizing because you don't need to go person by person and greet every single person or meet every single person. You actually have a broadcast medium that here at a local, hyper-local level can help you to organize people. We've launched features like product groups that allow people to come in and create affinity groups around specific issues or shared affinities like mothers groups or organizing groups. And we've also worked with larger organizations to amplify the good work that they're doing. So organizations like the NAACP or organizations like Stop AAPI Hate. We know that today there's a rash of anti-Asian American and Pacific Islander violence going on, particularly in our hometown of San Francisco. And so when there are organizations who are trying to amplify their message, NextDoor is a great place to do that at a hyper-local level where you can reach the people that you're trying to reach.
Question for Scott Boulder. You got a question about NextDoor?
I do, actually. Congratulations. It sounds like a great initiative and program. I got to tell you, I'm one of the guys that doesn't know his neighbors. My wife knows all the neighbors and all their business, if you will. And it really is about being intentional about taking time to do it. And I'm just not intentional about it. It's either work or something. And so what do you say to guys like me who really like the concept of NextDoor, who really want to know their neighbors, but just aren't intentional about getting to know them? And what's the bit? What am I missing by not getting to know my neighbors?
Yeah, look, it's a good question, right? I often, as a founder of the company, when people hear that I work at NextDoor, they will often say exactly what you said, which is, oh yeah, my wife uses that app. And I think as we know, there is a lot of value to knowing your neighbors beyond just whether you're going to have a backyard barbecue with them or even spend time with them. We think of it as a utility-based service, a service where you can come and without knowing a single individual, get a ton of value out of them. So there may be a case where you need to find a recommendation for a local service provider. Who better to ask than the people who live in your community? If you need to repair something in your home, who better to ask than someone who lives in the neighborhood where the homes are quite similar to your own?
Sure.
And so I think there are all these different vectors of value where you can get that value from the network just as a hive mind of local knowledge, as opposed to individuals that you're trying to connect with. So we often say, come to NextDoor for the utility first, and then stay for the affinity, because as you start to have those interactions, those helpful interactions, and our purpose, the mission for NextDoor, the 100-year vision, is to cultivate a kinder world where everyone has a neighborhood they can rely on. And as you unpack that, it's about these helpful interactions that happen every day that build towards that goal of kindness and that goal towards people having the support of the neighborhood when they need it. Doesn't need to be every day, doesn't need to be 100 times a day that you're pulling to refresh to use our app. We're there when you need us, and your neighbors are there when you need them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I'm going to go meet another neighbor tomorrow.
Yeah, well, in fact, one other thing, Scott,
Lee, what's your question?
We conducted a research survey that said that knowing as few as 6 of your neighbors greatly reduces the probability that you will be lonely or depressed. So there are actually health benefits to knowing your neighbors, strangely enough. So
that is good. That is good.
I don't even have a response to that, but okay.
Look, I have a question.
Lee, go ahead.
I am not a user yet of NextDoor, but after your presentation, I think I'm going to go ahead and check it out, download the app and all that. Look, about a year and a half ago, right before the pandemic hit, some kids kicked in our front door in the middle of the day, about 2 in the afternoon. And it was at that moment that I realized, although I know who many of my neighbors are, you hit it on the head. I don't know all their names. Number 2, we don't know enough about each other to be helpful. But then I realized when that happened, some of my neighbors were at home and they came out and came running down the street and was like, Lee, which embarrassed me because they knew my name. I didn't know all theirs. and so they came and just kind of began to share what they all saw. And the police department began to piecemeal the different things. And some of us had electronic security surveillance. I won't mention their name because I guess in some way they're a competitor. But it also helped to piece together all of what everyone saw, what was seen on camera, what people personally saw and heard. I get the sense that NextDoor can be actually helpful in situations like that, to allow the entire neighborhood to know what's going on and allow them to be helpful in any way that they can.
Yeah, I think anything that relates to neighbors helping neighbors is somewhere that we want to play in the space. We don't want to be necessarily a surveillance app or thought of as a neighborhood watch app. There's lots of problematic use cases around that as well. But we think that when neighbors can support one another, that's when we're really at our best.
No, that's good. That's good.
Excellent.
All right, then. Prakash, we certainly appreciate it. And folks, we're looking forward to creating some unique and interesting content on NextDoor. So look for that real soon. Can't wait to actually do that. And matter of fact, you know what? I think what might be interesting. I think what might be interesting is I might pull on. Maybe we do something. I have my parents and I bring them on and we talk about how they built a thriving civic club by linking up with neighbors. Could be some people out there who are interested in doing it where they live.
Yeah, absolutely. We would love to have you on the platform, Roland. We'd love to see your parents on the platform. But I think at the end of the day, there's so much value in knowing your neighbors. And we very, very strongly believe in this purpose and mission of cultivating a kinder world, because the neighborhood can be the unit of change. In a world that's more divided and polarized and lonely than ever before, again, let's go find a way to meet 6 of our neighbors and rebuild that crumbling community infrastructure and get back together on this.
All right, then. Well, surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Again, folks, you can download the app, NextDoor. Check it out and find out who your neighbors are. Prakash, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me, Roland. Appreciate it.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.